Okay, here we go. This is our first book. This book I found when I started back to school in 95, and it has been one of my favorite after I saw it and it was read to me, and then I read it to all of you. It's called Love You Forever by Robert, and I can't say his last name, Munchie or something like that. I'm going to read this book to you, and maybe you can listen to it. A mother held her new baby and very slowly rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she held him, she sang, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. That baby grew and he grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 2 years old. And he ran around the house. He pulled all the books off the shelf. He pulled all the food out of the refrigerator, and he took his mother's watch and he flushed it down the toilet. Sometimes his mother would say, This kid is driving me crazy. But at night, when that 2-year-old was quiet, she'd open the door. She'd open the door, crawl across the floor, look up over the side of his bed, and if he was asleep, really asleep, she'd pick him up and she'd rock him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she did, she'd sing to him, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as you're living, my baby you'll be. That little boy, he grew and he grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 9 years old. And he never wanted to come in for dinner, and he never wanted to take a bath. And when Grandma visited, he always said bad words. Sometimes his mother wanted to sell him to the. But at night, when he was asleep, the mother would quietly open the door to his room, and she'd crawl across the floor and look up over the side of the bed. If he was really asleep, she'd pick up that 9-year-old boy and she'd rock him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as you're living, as long as I'm living, my babies you'll be. The boy grew and he grew and he grew and he grew and he grew until he was a teenager. He had a strange friend, and he had strange friends, and he wore strange clothes, and he listened to strange music. Sometimes the mother felt like she was living in a zoo. But at night, when that teenager was asleep and that mother opened the door and she knew he was really asleep, she'd crawl across the floor. She'd look up over the side of the bed, and if he was really asleep, she'd pick that great big old boy up and she'd rock him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. While she rocked him, she sang, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as we're living, as long as I'm living, my babies you'll be. That teenager grew and he grew and he grew and he grew and he grew until he was a grown-up man. He left home and he got a house across the town. But sometimes on dark nights, the mother got into her car and she drove across town. If all the lights in her son's house were out, she'd open his bedroom window and she'd crawl across the floor. She'd look up over the side of his bed. And if that great big man was really asleep, she'd pick him up and she'd rock him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she'd sing, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my babies you'll be. Now it starts with then one day. Well, that mother, she got older. She got older and older and older. And one day she called up her son and said, "You better come see me because I'm very old and sick." So her son came to see her, and when he came in the door, she tried to sing the song, and she sang, "I love you forever. I like you for always." But she couldn't finish because she was too old and too sick. The son went to his mother and he picked her up and he rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he sang this song, "I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be." When that son came home that night, he stood for a long time at the top of the stairs. Then he went into the room where his very new baby daughter was sleeping, and he picked her up in his arms, and very slowly he rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And when he rocked her, he sang, "I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, why this means so much to me is because this book, it shows us how life continues on through our grandchildren, our children, my mom and my dad. And so it's it shows how the never-ending circle of life just moves on. But I also wanted to tie something else in, is because y'all are my pride and joy, and my kids are my pride and joy too. Marcus, Matt, Mallory, and Mary Beth, they are everything to me. But the grandkids, and it says in the Bible in Proverbs 17:6, grandchildren are the crowning glory of the aged. Parents are the pride of their children. And what this means is this honors the joy that grandchildren bring to their grandparents. It reflects the cycle of life where grandparents find their legacy and fulfillment in the lives of their grandchildren, while parents take pride in their children, creating a harmonious family bond. And so I guess what I'm saying is when I look at y'all, it does make me proud because I see my kids in you, and are your moms and your dads in you. And I know that maybe a little something of what I gave them is being passed on to you. And so you are my crown, and I wear it proudly. I don't have one right now, but if I did, I'd have it on because you are my crown. You are my uh, pride and joy. I love you, and I want to say a good night prayer with you, and we'll be done with our first one. Dear Lord, just thank you so much for my grandbabies, Lord. I just lift them up to you. I just pray that one day they will call on your name, Lord. I love you and I praise you. And thank you for this time together. And may they sleep well. I love you. Amen.